Hello, brothers and sisters. Hope you're doing well today. God bless you. Let me fix this video thing here. Okay. Brothers and sisters, first of all, I just want to say, praise the Lord for another day, right? Another day, and I think that we should keep praising and let everything be done to the glory of God. That's what He would want. Brothers and sisters, I just want to share just a quick story with you, okay? When I was 17 years old, made some really terrible choices. I went to Wise County in Decatur, Texas, corrections unit, jail, and I was sentenced to do 280 days in jail. And I remember going into that jail cell. First of all, they threw me in population, and I was with a bunch of really brutal men. You know, these men were explosively devious. They talked about evil things. I could feel the filthiness in there. I could feel such distraction, such I couldn't even sleep at night in that room. They used to talk about wicked things. They used to do stuff, and I got into some fights in there, you know. And so one day I hit the button, and I told the jailers, I said, I got to get out of here. I can't be in here no more. And so they put me in a segregated 6x12 jail cell, a very small room surrounded by concrete with a metal toilet and a metal bed in a shower. And it took, I stayed in that jail cell for 3 months. 3 months. And I moved from jail cell to jail cell. And finally, I was so bored, brothers and sisters, that I had read all the books I could read that I wanted to. I wrote all the letters that I could even write, and I didn't even have anybody to write to. It was like I was writing to myself. I was just so empty inside. I don't know. It was like I was lacking something, needed something. I didn't know what it was or where it was going to come from or who to ask or what to do or nothing. And I remember something, brothers and sisters. I remember this jailer. He used to come by my jail cell, right? And he used to peek inside all the time, and he would never really say anything to me. And he used to see me sit up at night, just sitting there. And I used to pace back and forth in this jail cell, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I used to work out, do push-up, whatever I was doing, but it was almost as if I was driven in my own skin. It was like I was hurting for something. And I'll never forget, this man looked at me, and I could feel his compassion. And he said, "Hey man, here's a Bible," right? And I thought to myself, I looked at that book. I laid it down on the table. I even kicked it around the room. I even almost used it as toilet paper. I was so hungry at night, brothers and sisters, that the food that they were feeding me in the jail was so starched up that it used to make my insides hurt. I used to become sick eating the food. I was so hungry that a lot of times I didn't have no commissary or nothing, that I used to almost be so hungry before breakfast used to come that I used to eat toilet paper. I ate it a few times. A few times I literally ate the toilet paper and digested it. Back to the concept is, I remember looking at this book, thinking to myself, what is it about this book? What's inside of this book that I need? And finally, one day, brothers and sisters, I snapped, I broke. And I flipped open this book. And I couldn't really understand much of the Old Testament. It was all just too old for me. It's just, I didn't really understand. So I fast forwarded and I flipped to the New Testament. And I remember opening up the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, and John, and Luke. And as I started to read, brothers and sisters, something caught my eye. Something caught my attention. Something excited me. Like when a kid opens up a Christmas gift, you see that level of excitement. Like he didn't know what he was gonna find, but it joyed him, And so I something caught my eye about this man named Jesus. It blew me away. And what caught my eye about Jesus was that he was going places and healing people. He was doing miracles, And I thought to myself, whoa, who is this Jesus? Who is this person? Because I had heard about him. I read about him in church and stuff like that, but I didn't really read. I didn't really know, And as I started reading about this Jesus, I started hearing about all these things that he was doing. And then I started hearing about all these people that were attacking him and how they hated him. And then at the very end of the story, I read about how they killed him. And I thought to myself, I must have sat there thinking to myself, and I read that whole New Testament in 32 hours. I didn't even want to eat my food, barely. And I remember, brother, as clear as day, as if it was yesterday. I remember hearing about how to accept Jesus in the Bible, and something clicked in my head, and something hit my heart. It was almost like I needed to receive something, like I needed to accept reality, or that I needed to accept something, And I dropped to my knees, brothers and sisters. I dropped to my knees on the bare concrete floor. And I bent over, and something hit me, and I just started weeping. It never happened to me before. I started weeping, like tears. I don't even know where they were coming from. Just sorrow. I don't even know where it was coming, but it wasn't like a sorrow and a suffering like pity me. It was a suffering like some force was doing something to me, brothers and sisters, from somewhere, from some angle. A force was colliding with me, not attacking me, not attacking me, making me feel like overwhelmed or like anxiety, or no. This was totally opposite, totally way something different than anything I ever felt, brothers and sisters. I never felt this before. And I remember I'll never forget this. I remember looking up. And as I looked up, brothers and sisters, as plain as I could tell you, I seen the lights in this dark room. This room was dark every night. Every night they used to turn off the lights, and it was so dark in this room, And as I looked up to the ceiling, I saw it had like a tinted light, a little small night light, you know, and the lights flickered in the room like this, like off and on, like that. That's what happened. And I remember accepting Jesus into my heart. I said, come into my heart, Lord. And I remember weeping in such unfamiliar tears. Tears that didn't even hit the floor. They just stayed on my face. They stayed on my face, brothers and sisters. And after I accepted him, I said, come into my heart. I could feel something in my body. Something was happening to me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who to. I couldn't explain it to you. It's too hard for me to explain, other than the way I'm trying to explain it now. And I remember feeling such relief, like I had something, like something was given to me. And brothers and sisters, when I rose up, and I was so weak inside of my flesh that I could almost barely stand. I had to push myself up like this. My knees were wobbling. My legs were shaking. I was so weak. I didn't know what was going on. And brothers and sisters, let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. I took my first step to the right. I took my first step to the right, and I looked and I stopped. And as I looked in the mirror, I seen something behind the mirror. On the opposite side, by the right, by the toilet. I could feel something, brothers and sisters, and it wasn't good. It was not a good presence. It was like a spying presence. Like something was watching me. You know what I'm saying? And I could feel it. I'm looking. And I'll tell you something, brothers and sisters, that was the first time in my life that I could feel the presence of Satan. It's the truth. And see, I'll tell you something. That was the first time in my life, brothers and sisters, that he knew, that I knew that he existed now. That he existed. And when that clicked in my brain, and I thought to myself, whoa, you're the one. You're the one who destroyed my family piece by piece. You're the one who utterly caused my brother to have fetal alcohol syndrome. You're the one who tore my mother to pieces. You're the one who deceived my father. You're the one who killed my friend. And I remember looking in the mirror, brothers and sisters. From a distance, and I looked, and I made a vow that night, which you should never do. And that's why my life has been this hard right now. And I stuck my finger right there, and I said, Satan, I don't care how hard it is, or what I have to do, or how far I have to journey, or whatever I have to do. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. And I remember, brothers and sisters, the taunting of demons, of laughter. I could hear it. I could feel it. I couldn't see it. I didn't know where it was coming from, but I could feel it, brothers and sisters. And soon after that presence left. But then even after that, brothers and sisters, Satan had came to sift me night after night. He was sticking something inside of me of lust. I used to sit there and have dreams about women and just perversion and lust, and I didn't know where it was coming from, brothers and sisters. I used to fight it. Even when I was 17 years old, and I'm 30 years old today, I remember being taunted and being just hurt. And I used to wake up as if a presence had had sex with me. And I used to get so mad. I would go to the wall and I'd slam my hand against the wall over and over and over. I just keep slamming it like this. And I don't even know why. I used to take hot showers after these things happened to me. And I used to sit there and weep and weep and weep and weep and weep. And I didn't even know why I was weeping. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. My dad and my mom used to try to come see me in the jail cell, right? I used to look at these people as I'm on the opposite side of the glass, and they're talking to me, and I'm not even paying attention. It's like I didn't even care what they had to say. I didn't want to see them. I even tried to share it with my dad. I tried to tell my dad one day, I said, Dad, I'm learning about God, something's happened to me. He looked at me disgusted. And said, I don't want to talk about that, And it hurt, brothers and sisters. It used to hurt me so bad, brothers and sisters, that I'd slam the phone on the rack and I'd say, I don't even want to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. There's nothing that you have to tell me other than how bad of a son that I am. How big of a loser I am for being in this jail cell. How much you don't want me to come home after I get out of here. This was my reality. My mom used to come up to the jail cell so strung out on drugs that I looked at her one day. And I said, Mom, I said, you're hurting me. I know you're on drugs. Why are you coming up here like this? I said, don't do this to me. Don't come up here like this. Don't even come and see me. I don't want you to come up here. Stop. Go do something. And it convicted her so hard, man. And I remember watching my mom walk out of tears, man. I had to rebuke her, And I'll never forget, she came back a month later after I was almost about to get out, And she looked at me and she was a totally different person. It was like a light was in her. She was beautiful. She was elegant, I miss that woman. I miss my mother. That was the only person in my life, my mother, who could love me like anybody. She's the only one. The only one. She forgive me anytime we fought, anytime we go, and it was like two peas in a pot, man. My mother struggled so bad in this life, brothers and sisters. I used to watch her suffer. I used to watch her suffer so bad. So bad. The doctors couldn't help her. She was crying out for help. She had glaucoma in her eyes so bad that the pressure was so intensified. She used to lay in bed and scream at night. Help! She used to scream all night, all night, all night. My childhood was filled with so much trauma and so much anxiety for a 7-year-old boy that they probably needed to put me on medication. That's the truth. My little brother had fetal alcohol syndrome, and he was a totally opposite, different person than me. He nothing affected him, nothing. And I still honor my brother today. He's an amazing individual. But I wasn't like that, brothers and sisters. I was a emotional, passionate person. That's me. I'm compulsive, addictive personality. Anything I do, I have to do at a centrifugal force that I have to master it. Just like my father. Rebellious, prideful, arrogant. And I remember when my mother passed away, brothers and sisters. I heard the knock on the door. And it was my aunt. And I knew something was wrong. And she told me my mother was dead. And this was 7 years ago. And I remember I was so angry that I took one step to the right and spin kicked the door. And I slammed my fist in every single piece of sheetrock you could find. And I'll tell you why. Because the night before my mother died, I shunned her away. And I never got the chance. I never got the opportunity, brothers and sisters, to tell my mother that I loved her. And it still haunts me to this day. To this day, I am haunted by that. But I have peace on my heart about it, brothers and sisters. God has healed me from such things. But the reason I tell you today is because I would not be standing here in front of you making this message on Facebook for the whole world to see if I didn't meet Jesus. And the reason I tell you this is because you will never know that the devil exists. You will never know that Satan operates in this world, that he is the God of this world, blinding the hearts and the minds lest they hear the glorious light of the gospel, until you meet Jesus Christ, until you have a collision course and a supernatural force with the God Almighty himself. When you come into direct contact in a spiritual zone where you cry out to God and you accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you will never ever understand the devil. You will never understand any of his tricks or any of his schemes or anything that's ever going to come. And if you don't meet Jesus, if you don't accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you will never step one foot into heaven. You will never step a single foot into heaven. It will never work. There is no Buddha. There is no Hindu. There is no Aztec warrior, king or goddess or pagan warlord that can save you from yourself. Because yourself is a ticking time bomb. Your flesh desires everything in this world. From the money, the cars, the clothes, the drugs, the lust, every single thing in your life is made to distract you from the reality of meeting Jesus Christ. That's the truth. we don't find God, brothers and sisters. He finds us.